this morning. Welcome to Talk About It Thursday. We are here to talk about aging awareness in the HIV and AIDS community. And I've got a few special guests with us today. We're doing this talk today because tomorrow is actually National HIV/AIDS Aging Awareness Day. So we wanted to do a little discussion of topics that cover people who have HIV or AIDS, and as they get older and more refined, how they're living their lives and how they get access to care. So the first guest we have on today is Jarmelle Smith. He's the Prevention Program Manager and PrEP Navigator at Palmetto Community Care. He joined the team back in 2017, and he co-facilitated the intervention program 3MV at that time for HIV-negative African-American men who sleep with men. He's also certified by the SC Department of Health and Environmental Control to complete HIV testing and counseling for newly diagnosed individuals. And Jarmelle is part of our Low Country SHAPE group. SHAPE means Sexual Health Awareness and STI Prevention and Education. And you've seen him on many of our previous Talk About It Tuesdays or Talk About It Thursdays, talking about HIV prevention, PEP and PrEP. And he's very passionate about getting anyone access to PrEP through our program at the agency. So, hey, Jarmelle.
Hola, everyone. Hello, everyone. It's been a long time. How's everyone out there doing? Hope everyone's staying safe. That's the real question.
Exactly.
And wearing your mask.
All right. So my next guest is Michael Luciano, who is a peer educator at Palmetto Community Care. He wears many hats, but all of his responsibilities have one goal: to bring education and awareness of HIV and AIDS to anyone that needs it or is searching for information. He developed an HIV 101 course in early 2012 that has since grown into a detailed presentation of HIV self-management and self-advocacy that is presented monthly to new Palmetto Community Care clients. Michael works with other staff members as a peer facilitator for the Healthy Relations program and also leads virtual support groups in this time of COVID. Michael also chairs the SCHPC's Inter-Committee Work Group on HIV and Aging and was drafted as a consultant to the HPC's Need Assessment Committee, which is currently conducting a statewide survey of service utilization among 50-year-old plus people living with HIV and AIDS in South Carolina. In addition to that, he presented on the HIV and Aging twice at the psychosocial health challenges of LTS at the South Carolina HIV STD Viral Hep Conference. Hey, Michael.
Hello. For anybody who's wondering about all those anagrams or acronyms in there, the South Carolina HPC is the HIV Planning Council, which helps to organize the funds that are provided by the federal government to provide services to people living with HIV in the state of South Carolina. And what was the other one?
Elemental P?
Oh, LTS is HIV long-term survivors,
Yes.
which is very relevant to the conversation about HIV and aging, because at least 1/4 of all people living with HIV in the U.S. today were diagnosed before 1996.
Right.
And that complicates things. And we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying that. All right. And our last special guest today is David Alexander, who is currently a community advocacy mobilizer with AIDS Healthcare Foundation, dealing with many social issues. He has worked in the social worker field for many years, and he's made it his duty to be very hands-on with the involvement of educational awareness and advocacy for people living with HIV throughout all of our communities in South Carolina. He participates in peer support groups, and he also serves on several community organizational boards, SCHPC, the Needs Assessment Committee, Ending the HIV Epidemic Committee, and is willing to partner with all like-minded people and groups. Thanks for joining us, David.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. And like Michael as well, I serve on the South Carolina HIV Planning Council, in which it was very important to get this 50 and 15 plus agent survey out to our community so we can get answers to what's going on in the HIV community of people living over 50. And Michael was very instrumental in that, and I appreciate him.
Awesome. Well, before we dive into everything, my first question is, how do you all do everything that you do? How do you have the time?
Coffee.
I have a clone.
Oh,
I know I've seen you around a couple of times.
Uh-huh.
I don't have a clone and I don't have coffee. Finding the time is extremely difficult, but the time is found, due to the passion and care that we each have for what we do. We find it and we know it's important. And I feel it's important to find time and to take time to talk to people about our cares and situations. It's about advocacy. So
exactly.
make time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm having a passion for the work and having, at this point, more than 30 years of involvement in this work is what keeps me going.
Yes.
Great for the very important things that all of these committees and presentations accomplish. It's definitely valued found time for this. So
And
thank
it's
you
literally
again.
found time.
Yes, thank you all everyone for joining us today. So before we dive into aging and HIV, we're just doing a quick little reminder of Palmetto Community Care's contact information and location and services. So let me just pull up my handy dandy PowerPoint. And this is just a reminder that the Awareness Day is actually tomorrow, but we wanted to speak about it today. So as far as our prevention services go, we offer free HIV and STI testing. HIV results could be in 20 minutes or less. We also have free condoms and personal lubricant, and we have PEP and PrEP services. A few of the things that our case management and peer educator, I think I need to drink more coffee. Resources. Our client support groups, we do medical case management, education, nutrition programs, hygiene pantry, legal services, advocacy, housing assistance, financial assistance, medication assistance, and medication delivery and pickup, especially in this time of COVID. We are located at 3547 Meeting Street Road in North Charleston, South Carolina. We are currently testing by appointment only between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. And if you want to make an appointment, you can send us a text at 843-790-4299, or you can give a call at 803-216-5108. We do rapid HIV testing, syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. And if you are looking for case management or have a question as an HIV positive person, you can call 843-747-2273 between 8:30 and 4:30 for more information. So these are just some stats that are constantly changing, regarding those who are living with HIV or AIDS as they age. Some of these may have changed since. Most of these stats are from 2017, 2018, and it does take a few years for them to get everything together. But it's also important to mention that depending on the agency, they may have different measures for each of these stats. So worldwide, there's an estimated 3.6 million people aged 50 plus who are living with HIV. About 1 in 4 adults in the U.S. who are living with HIV are aged 50 or older. Approximately 18% of new HIV diagnoses occur among those aged 50 and older. 46.1% of individuals receiving Ryan White HAP care are over 50 years old, similar to their age demographics of all Americans diagnosed with HIV. And then 91.5% of those aged over 50 are virally suppressed, exceeding the Ryan White HAP average of 87% as reported by Ryan White on HIV.gov. So those last two stats are specifically reported by Ryan White. And then lastly, a little slide right quick that talks about our stats, these aren't specifically geared toward those 50 and over, but just to give you, a comparison in somewhat. Our clients, this is from the year 2018. A total of 80% of PCC clients are virally suppressed. An additional 10% are on a path towards improved viral suppression. And that year, we served 547 clients and then had 85 new clients. All right. So let me just get out of here real quick. And so what, that's a lot of stats, but, why should we be thinking about HIV and AIDS in regards to aging, and how would you like to comment on those statistics, and how they might have changed, or how it actually pertains to South Carolina?
Well, first of all, one number that has changed, I'm not sure what year's figures that slide was drawn from, but as of the end of the year 2018, 51% of people living with HIV in the United States are age 50 and older. So we are now the majority, actually, of the people living with HIV in the United States. And that is reflected in the state of South Carolina as well. I believe we are 53% of the population of people living with HIV in South Carolina as of the most recent state epidemiology reports. The other number, the percentage of newly diagnosed people with HIV, is still correct. It's about 18% in the United States. New diagnoses are among people living with HIV who are over 50 years old. So, when HIV first became a national concern, people did not live very long, and few people lived to see 50, much less well past 50. But treatment has changed a great deal since then. And now people are living much longer and healthier and more productive lives with HIV. So as I said, the end of the year 2018, more than half of people living with HIV in the United States are age 50 or older. This is a reality that as a community and as a medical providers never thought they would have to encounter. And today, things look very different. We have very effective treatment available, which keeps people living much longer, but not without some complications. People aging with HIV tend to experience what has sometimes been called accelerated aging and sometimes been called intensified aging. The experts don't agree on exactly how to categorize that, but the outcome is the same, whichever way you look at it, which is that people aging with HIV tend to experience the problems, the comorbidities, and the issues that other people experience as they age at an earlier point in time and at a more intense rate. So Americans or people worldwide, as we age, our health changes and tends to deteriorate the older we get. And that happens in a more intense way for people living with HIV and aging. So we require intensive care, intensive social support, and intensive use of services, more so than the general population. That puts a burden on our healthcare systems, which have not fully adapted to this situation as yet. So it's a challenging issue, and one that is going to require a lot more attention and a lot more work than has been put into it as yet. The fact that so many people living with HIV are over 50, and now many are well above 50, kind of crept up on the medical world and the social services world, sort of unawares, or not completely unawares, but caught them unprepared, essentially. So we have to figure out how to adjust our care systems to deal with the reality of service provision for people who are not just requiring HIV care, but care for diabetes, cardiovascular issues, dementia, all the other issues common to people who are aging, living without HIV.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot to consider, and something I didn't realize was the what you call either the accelerated or the intensified aging that happens. But so I can see where that could definitely be an issue. So would you say, so with, obviously there's so many different medications now out that will help people with HIV become undetectable. I think one of those good things that came out of it is actually the discovery of PrEP, which is something that we now use to prevent HIV contraction. So it does help up to 99% stop HIV contraction. But Mel, would you like to kind of elaborate a little bit on that and how PrEP works?
Yeah, most definitely. Like Maggie said, now that we do have the medication PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, and PEP also, which is post-exposure prophylaxis, we are able to help, stop the spread of HIV. I would like to point out, though, a lot of times that when people hear the word PrEP or PEP, they automatically think that it is only for the LGBTQ community. I would like to point out that it is not only for that community; it is for any and everyone who wants to stop the spread of HIV. With that being said, though, so with PrEP, we have two different medications. We have Truvada and we have Descovy that we offer for PrEP. Our agency in itself, we offer assistance by advancing access. So if you don't have insurance, it's still totally fine. We're still able to get you into some assistance when getting PrEP. A lot of people ask me, how much does it cost? Essentially, we try to make it as cheap as possible, almost free to most people, honestly. PrEP is more than just a pill, though. Honestly, I have to tell people that as well. A lot of people are like, oh, I just have to take this pill every day. Some people don't know, but you do have to take the pills every day, and that's all I need to do. No, you also need to follow up every 3 months to get, continue HIV testing, STI testing. We like to also do regular, lab work on you, make sure everything is still working properly, and things of that nature.
And use condoms.
Thank you.
Use condoms, yes.
Condoms very important.
Yes. They go hand in hand all the time.
The STIs.
Yes.
Yes. PrEP is for everybody. Condoms are for everybody.
And that includes people over 50 who actually do still have sex.
Yes.
Yes.
Who knew?
Yes.
Exactly. So thank you for explaining that, Mel. David, you work a lot with building up community around HIV plus people. Would you say it's important to start that community with people who might be young and contracted HIV, or also maybe even just starting on PrEP to give them that education about the virus, and kind of that helps them keep a community about them throughout their years? Would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, what I'm hearing you asking is the fact that the community needs to be aware that there is something that can help, such as PrEP. Myself, we talk about it in the community, but it needs to be more discussion, because it's something that in the African American community we really don't talk about, but it really needs to be there. That PrEP is important and it can work, and this is how you can get information on it. So what we try to do in my field of advocacy is focus them to organizations like yours to let them know that PrEP exists. This is how you can get it. This is how it works. We have Jarmelle who can explain everything to them, Michael as well. So when I'm in the field and someone asks me about PrEP, I talk about it, I give them the information, but we have to have them understand that this is also safe as well. You can utilize this. We got to talk about it. It has to be advertised that this is something we can use in the community. Because if they don't know about it and there's a stigma to it, they won't use it.
Very true. That's why we try to keep driving like PrEP is for everybody.
Right.
A cool thing to know about is South Carolina is actually observing their first PrEP Awareness Week this year between September 28th and October 2nd. Or October 3rd, actually, because I think they have a Saturday session. Each day they're dedicating to a different topic that's surrounded by that is about PrEP. So it may be PrEP in women, PrEP in transgender individuals, PrEP with people in the Latinx community, and then accessing PrEP and how it works with your medical insurance. So if you check out like SCD Hex website, you can see those different sessions that are about. And all right, so I actually went ahead of myself with the fact slide earlier, but that's okay. Did anyone else have any input on why people? So as an outreach person, whenever I would do events, people would always come by my table and say, "Oh yeah, did you know that more and more people in the nursing homes are getting HIV because it's just gone rampant in there?" And it's one of those things where they don't realize that everybody who is sexually active is susceptible to HIV.
Right.
I don't think that the stats are showing a great increase in nursing homes or whatnot. I think it's that more of people are just now hearing about it. What would you say about those HIV new cases? Are they cases that are actually new, or are they people that have HIV but just haven't known for such a long time?
I think it's a combination of both. As I said before, people over 50 do have sex, and more power to them. But people over 50 having sex may use condoms less because, for one thing, they're less concerned about pregnancy. But also, there is an issue with people over 50, especially people over 55 or 60, being diagnosed late because their doctors may not consider testing them for HIV. Again, in this country, we don't like to think about anyone having sex, much less older people having sex. And and also some of the symptoms that are associated with a new HIV infection are very generic and can look like the problems other people have associated with aging. So it may not occur to a doctor that these symptoms are actually a sign of HIV infection. So sometimes older people often tend to enter care later in the course of their infection. They're diagnosed late, which can compromise their health, which can make it more difficult to treat their HIV or to treat other conditions associated with aging as well. Again, about 1 in 6 or 18% of people newly diagnosed with HIV in the US are age 50 or older.
Exactly.
I would like to add on to that. I think, like Michael said, with sex, period, it's taboo here in America, especially here along with us in the South, along the Bible Belt. We do not talk about sex at all. So for someone who is older in age, it's absolutely not even a conversation. So it's kind of sad at the same time that that these people are experiencing kind of things, and the doctors don't even think about it. They don't even think, we should do an HIV test, we should do an STI test. Why? Because for one, they think because of their age, they're not supposed to be having sex, or they're not even having sex at all. In the South, none of us have sex. Let them tell it.
And then also to add to that, it's not only because of their age; they don't fit a certain stereotype.
You're right.
That might have HIV, and the doctors, your primary care physicians, they don't think about, you're 56 years of age and you don't fit that mold. Why should I test you?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think that's why it's important, like how you are your own advocate when it comes to your health, whether it be, any other condition, but especially your sexual health. You need to, when you have those regular appointments, ask for testing or find places that are community-based organizations, or health clinics like we are, Palm Medical Community Care, to get that free testing. But yeah, being in the Bible Belt, the approach to sex is keep that belt on. Like they don't want you to take it off. So
Exciting.
so they don't talk about it.
They have a large population of people. How did they get here?
Right, exactly. So we actually have a question from one of our viewers. They're asking, is there a cure for HIV in the future because so many people are suffering?
So, yes, I believe there is a cure for HIV in the future. It will not be tomorrow. It will not be next week or next year. But I think that within the lifetime of everyone on this panel, it is entirely possible and likely that we will see a cure for HIV. It's difficult. HIV is a very tricky virus in a way. It hides within the body so that although the medications we have today are extremely effective, it can't be eradicated. It can't be eliminated once it has entered someone's body. So that presents a real challenge, and one that medical researchers have been working on for a long time. But today, there is more work focused on pure research than there has ever been in the past, and more productive work. So we are getting there. But it is scientifically a real challenge, and it won't be in the immediate future. I hesitate to guess at a year when it might be available, but it is possible that within 10 years, certainly I believe within 20 years, we will have arrived at a cure for HIV. Don't hold me to that.
Hold on, let me write this down. No, I think the closest thing we have to the cure, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, is undetectable, which means untransmittable. U equals U. Boom, boom. So, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's see what's next. Next I have a little video. It's just about a little over a minute or so long, but I think it's great to give some insight on people who are aging with HIV. It does focus on women because it's put together by the AIDS Institute and AIDS Alliance for Women, Infants, Children, Youth, and Families for National HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. But it touches on some of the same things that anyone else would face. So let me just put this up here. And when it decides to play, okay, there we go.
No,
Can y'all hear it?
Nope.
Yeah, me either.
No audio, baby.
No audio? Okay.
Nope.
No.
Just kidding. All right. All right, let me get out of the technological work. Let's see. Okay. All right. Well, anyways, I'm not sure why the audio isn't working on that. Maybe I don't have it on.
it wasn't on at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, haha. Okay, well, let's see. How about we'll move along because we're already got a 30-minute show going on here. So how about we'll just move to the next step?
Okay.
If y'all don't mind. All right, so this next slide I'm gonna put up is actually focused on Ryan White HIV/AIDS program clients between 2010 and 2018. As you can see, in 2010, those ages 45 or actually 55 to 64 were 13.7%, and now in 2018 it rose to 23.5%. So I think that just kind of illustrates what Michael and David were talking about. You know, people are living longer than what medical doctors anticipated, and so they're kind of scrambling to put together that kind of care around those individuals and understand how it works. And then you see the 65 and over, it was 2.9% in 2010, and then in 2018, 7.6%. So, any comments about those stats or any other insight on? And again, this is just for Ryan White, so this does not reflect clients across the whole U.S. or the world. It's just those who are in care with Ryan White.
And if you notice, on the 2018 graph, the next largest block of people is between 45 and 54. So
Right.
within the next 5 years, another 26.8% of people living with HIV move to the next part of the graph, which puts a large majority of people living with HIV in the United States over the age of 50 within the next 5 years. In fact, by 2030, it's estimated that more than 70% of people living with HIV will be over 50 years old. And that means we need to prepare our care systems to deal with that reality. And there you see, in the Ryan White program specifically, approximately 65% of people living with HIV are expected to be over the age of 50 by 2030. So within 10 years, we will have the large majority of people living with HIV in the United States being 50 years old or 50 years or older, and an increasingly large proportion being well over 50. So, we need to adapt our systems to care for that issue or to deal with that issue. And so far, we have not successfully adapted. Clinics have largely not integrated geriatric care into their care processes. And in general, while our case managers, for example, at Palmetto Community Care, do a great job at finding community support as well as HIV-specific support for our clients as a whole, very few case managers have received training, cross-training in specifically finding services for people aging with HIV. So it will be a challenge to adapt to that situation. And we know that our elder care systems in this country are problematic to begin with. I mean, the rest of the population is also aging, and our housing services for people aging are rather limited. Our long-term care facilities are limited, and
there's no training.
And if our nursing homes and other elder care facilities can't deal with the medical issues of people aging without HIV, imagine the challenge of people living with HIV and experiencing all those extra complications that I discussed earlier.
Exactly. I was just about to say, even like, don't quote me on this. This is not based on any fact that I know, but I feel like by the time I need it, there's not going to be Social Security. I feel like the way things kind of seem, it just feels like that safety net is thinning more and more as years go by, because of how everything's set up, in our economy, government, everything. So, but that's just a personal statement. It do not attribute it to anybody. These do not reflect the views of Palmetto Community Care.
Well, and you have a larger share of people drawing on that resource as well. I mean, the baby boomer generation, which was up till that time the largest block of people, is now moving to the 60 plus category and drawing out from the social security system. So it's a challenge for sure.
It is.
Yes.
I also like to say that I think that is so important for the younger generation, whoever consider themselves the younger generation, to advocate for the older generation. I mean, a lot of times that I think that they have put us in the place that we are today, and I think a lot of times that we push the older generation to the side where we shouldn't. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So we need to advocate for them a lot, and whether that be about sexual health, whatever the case may be.
That's very true. We should uplift them and figure out how to fix the system.
Right.
And I want to add something to that because I was thinking about that as well when you had one of the questions on there. And Jarmelle, you're so right because, none of us asked to be in a situation. Now that we are in, I'm a person living with HIV and I'm a baby boomer. We need all hands on deck to advocate, educate, and engage to help what we're doing now. We need you young folks. It's like there are so many long-term survivors and advocates who are of age who've been doing this for 30 years or more. You're standing on our shoulders. Now we're asking you to take the torch.
Yeah.
Be that special advocate for someone old like me. And I'm mistaken. I can only say it about myself. I'm not going to say it about Michael. But we need the younger folk.
I don't have anything here.
And be recognized there on that shoulder, and that you can take the charge because we fought battles to make sure we had medication when South Carolina was on a waiting list. We fought battles to make sure that we have what we need and where we are now as advocates of people living with HIV. So we need you young folks to take the mantle in the torch, and we're not going to leave you. We're going to still be with you, but I may be in the wheelchair while you holding the banner. I'm glad you brought that up and you recognize that tomorrow.
Awesome. Yes. Build that community. It should be, everyone should be working towards the same goal of uplifting elders and making things better than what they have been in the past and kind of honoring the work that's been done in the past, by continuing it on into the future. So,
and we should be supporting them as well. Likewise, works two ways.
That's true. Very true. All right, so next we're going to talk a little bit about the U equals U undetectable undetectable means untransmittable. And I'm going to try this video thing again. I'm going to pull it up in YouTube instead of having it on the PowerPoint. So let's see how this works. This is just a minute long, but I think that it explains everything. And y'all can let me know if you hear it or not, like right away, okay? Hear it?
Nope.
Can't hear it at all?
I can't.
Dang.
Okay. And it does look like the volume is up. Maybe you could just pin the
volume is up on this one.
I'll just share the videos on our stream. I don't know what's going on. I did this last week. I don't know what is different about this week, but let's see. So let me pull up the PowerPoint again.
Now I don't feel so bad because someone under 30 is technologically challenged today as well.
Listen.
Tuesday, Mike.
Oh, all I have is that little. Okay, so I don't really have anything because it just said everything I wanted to say. All right, so let's just talk, y'all.
We can talk about that.
Yeah. So U equals U.
U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable. So when a person living with HIV has successfully treated HIV and their viral load is at and remains at an undetectable level, there is no sexual transmission of HIV. And the data behind that statement is strong enough that the CDC has now fully endorsed that concept. So treatment equals prevention.
That's
and
right.
It equals the most effective kind of prevention, because while PrEP is extraordinarily effective at over 99% successful in eliminating HIV transmission when it's used properly, a proper treatment with a person reaching an undetectable viral load and remaining at undetectable is nearly 100% effective. So far, we don't have any recorded cases of sexual transmission of HIV from a person with an undetectable status, which is not to say it's absolutely impossible, but it is extremely or even extraordinarily rare. So the key to ending the epidemic of new HIV infections is really to get as many people as possible who are living with HIV identified and aware that they're living with HIV and on successful treatment. And actually, we won a little bit of a victory in the past couple of weeks. The South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, SCDHEC, has now also signed on to the community consensus statement that undetectable does indeed equal untransmittable.
And with that, Michael, with that, that U equals U is very important, because the fact that if people are undetectable because they're adhering to their treatment and so forth, it can help in the process of ending the HIV epidemic in South Carolina. If we can get people in treatment, stay in treatment, become undetectable, can have your fun, it's a process in the beginning of ending the HIV epidemic here in South Carolina. And that's very important.
I think just to add on to what David just said, because I thought about that when the young lady asked, when the person asked the question in regards to the cure. Michael said it may be 10 to 20 years, who knows? But until we can get to that point, this is the best thing, prevention, PrEP, and U equals U. Take your medication pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So 2 questions I have from the community. One, when it's undetectable, is it only undetectable if someone comes in contact with HIV through sex, or do they become undetectable, say, if for some reason someone comes in contact with their blood? Is that different, or is it the same undetectable status?
It's the same.
Well, maybe not. We have less data about transmission via intravenous drug use, meaning syringe use,
Or donation.
Well, blood donation is pretty damn secure.
Yeah, but the fact is that
right.
When she says blood, what type of blood contamination is she talking?
Yes.
I'm saying?
Right. It could be IDU, say, I know most often it's going to be contraction through sex, the higher risk, but I'm saying, yeah, with IDU or
IDU is probably the only one we really don't have a lot of information on.
Okay, gotcha.
We have some statistics about that, but not nearly the same amount of data. And it does look like it is less effective or less completely effective with blood exposure through a needle stick or a needle injection drug use.
Right.
Awesome. Good to know. And then second question is, when to help someone come undetectable, obviously they're taking their antiretrovirals. Is there anything else that they do in a health sense that contributes to undetectable status, or does it include a part of self-advocacy when it comes to your medical providers?
Yes, and I was going to add about that earlier because self-advocacy is very important. And part of you becoming undetectable and sticking to your regimen, it involves learning, how to speak for yourself, how to ask some questions about the medication you're taking, decisions about asking questions, getting information. It's about being involved. Self-advocacy is the most important thing. It's like gaining understanding of who will support you, where can I go to get information, who can I trust, reaching out to others, checking yourself, your mental health situation. You know, Self advocacy is taking care of you, and when you can take care of you, you got it. When you're able, but now you got to realize everybody's not able to do that because the way they may be in their life, you have to meet people where they are. Because I know when I first was diagnosed with HIV, being the person I am supposed to be here, I was devastated. I didn't want to talk to nobody. So you have to meet them where they are and allow people just to be patient with yourself as well. And that's what I tell people. Be patient with yourself. And you'll find out in the process. Listen to other people. Get word from other people. Talk to other people who are living with HIV, who have a compassion to talk to individuals and share their experience. Hear their stories. That's the only thing you can do. Self-advocacy is very important. Because if you don't advocate for yourself, I don't know who's going to advocate for you. Maybe I will, because there's a part of community advocacy as well. Because if you're good at self-advocacy, you will be great at community advocacy. If you care about yourself and you want to care about your fellow man and woman.
Exactly. Awesome. Go ahead.
I'll add to that older people over 50 living with HIV have higher rates of viral suppression, of undetectable status. In general, our lives tend to be a little more settled than our younger, wilder selves. And also, part of aging is often having to take blood pressure medications and other medications associated with becoming older. And we tend to become better at taking our HIV medications regularly as well. I mean, those two, treating one issue reinforces treating another, and that works in both directions. So people living with HIV and over the age of 50 do have higher rates of viral suppression than our younger comrades. But there are again additional challenges. One of those great big challenges during the current time with a second pandemic raging, meaning COVID-19, is that social isolation is a big challenge in maintaining treatment for HIV. It's easy to become depressed. It's easy to have challenges with transportation for medical care and for other life activities. We know that social isolation happens to and is a danger for any people aging in the United States, and that's doubly so for people living with HIV who are separated even from other folks who are aging because of the stigma around HIV. So when you throw social distancing on top of that, and you throw the need to limit the number of contacts with the outside world, especially because COVID particularly affects the elderly, and people 60 and over have much higher risk of complications from COVID-19. When you put all that together, it makes the current climate very, very challenging. So we really, really urge people living and aging with HIV, those over 50 especially, to reach out and make sure that you're maintaining your social relationships. It helps to combat depression. It also keeps you mentally sharp and aware. And there is actually a relationship between social activity and physical health and frailty as we age. There is a connection between the two. So Palmetto Community Care, we offer a weekly support group even now in the midst of COVID. We do it online. And I would urge everyone living and aging with HIV to do their best to maintain their social networks and figure out the technology. Get your niece or nephew or child or grandchild to explain to you how to get on Zoom if necessary. And keep up those social contacts because it is hugely important to health. And if you need to find a support group, you can call Palmetto Community Care and somebody will put you in touch with me or the other peer educator.
And that's support. Zoom support.
Yeah. All right. So this has been a really awesome session. You know, we had a goal of being at least 30 minutes, but there is so much to talk about that we've almost lasted an hour. And the thing is, we probably haven't covered half of what we could have.
Nope.
So any last thoughts or words before we close out for today? At the bottom of the screen, I actually went ahead and put our free testing appointment line you can text and our office number that you can call about client case management or more info on the support groups. And we'll post that on our website or our Facebook and everything as well. But anything else you guys want to add or that we missed? Or
I would like to just personally thank David and Michael for their dedication to the community. Oh my God, this is nothing. This is my personal opinion. This is my personal thoughts. When I started the agency 3 years ago, only thing I knew that I wanted to make a difference. I had friends who were being diagnosed with HIV, and I just knew that I was tired of seeing it, and I wanted to be able to help my community. When I came in, David, I think he was the very first person I saw speak on the forum in regards to HIV, and I was like, oh my God. And then it was Michael, and then I was like, you know what, I got to have this kind of dedication that these two guys have. So you two have inspired me to do just as much as y'all have done, if not even more. Hopefully I could do this in 20, 30 years. Hopefully, you know, HIV will be gone, but in the case that I do, I would hope that I could do it to meet you guys' potential. Oh my God, thank y'all so much for everything.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm glad you're where you're at.
Yeah.
You needed to be where you're at, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
We got your back.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of our panelists, Jarmelle, Michael, and David, all special guests. And until next time, we'll have another Talk About It Tuesday or Talk About It Thursday coming up in the future. So just stay tuned. Until then, don't forget, you're never too old to keep moving and grooving. All right. This has been Talk About It Thursday. Thanks for joining. Y'all have a nice day.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right. Hey, everyone.